Gianno Caldwell decided to find out for himself how Washington is dealing with this. He was a little disappointed. Take a look.
We just want to talk about the crime crisis. You're a leader. I would think you would have a reaction to what's going on in the country. No reaction? I'm here in the nation's capital talking to members of the Congress on both sides of the aisle about the crime crisis in America and what do they plan to do about it. On the first day, if Republicans are victorious in November and you become the Speaker of the House, what will the commitment to America do for crime on day one?
Well, on the first day, you're going to see that no longer will the voice of Washington back here where the Democrats control say defund the police. It'll be the opposite.
Our commitment to America is our roadmap for an economy that's strong, a nation that's safe, a future that's built upon freedom, and a government that's accountable.
What we will do, we'll put a score to every single prosecutor, from Portland to Philadelphia. They get federal money. We'll actually sit there and have the debate. Do they deserve the federal money if they're not upholding the law?
A lot of the crime that's perpetrated, the majority of it is black on black. What do you think we can do about that as a community?
The most important thing is how do we deal with this long term? We have to get our kids educated. Black young men who could not read and write, they're going to be driven by emotion. They're going to be years later, like we are right now. Crime is their only way out. They see nothing wrong with it.
I think it's a misconception. Everybody thinks it's really just happening in the urban areas. It's happening everywhere. Just a week or so ago, I had a friend of mine beat up and robbed in a parking lot in broad daylight.
We've spoken to some Republicans, now we're going to talk to some Democrats, hopefully.
Well, let me state clearly and unequivocally that Black lives matter.
Oh, you're in a rush. We just want to talk about the crisis that is impacting our country with crime across the nation. Congressman, now, could we set up a meeting with your office and have a discussion? Maybe. I'm going to be busy. You're going to be busy? Today, yes. Okay. Tomorrow, does that work? Who should we reach out to in your office, Congressman? We just want to talk about the crime crisis in America.
The ease with which people acquire guns is still a big factor.
Crime is not out of control in our city.
Is Mayor Lori Lightfoot doing a good job?
I think she's doing a good job, and I think she'll be reelected as mayor of the city of Chicago.
That's frightening to me, but Kim Foxx, you think she's also doing a good job?
Oh, I unequivocally and without a doubt.
Violence is bad, reprehensible, should be condemned, but it is not the overwhelming picture in New York.
Senator, any reaction to the crime crisis in America? Crime is up, sir. There's a crisis. You have any reaction? You're a leader. I would think you would have a reaction to what's going on in the country.
Yes, I support the defund movement.
Any reaction to the rise in violent crime across the country, which is impacting students?
Well, I mean, our work on student debt cancellation is a direct response to what I would consider to be policy violence.
You mentioned policy violence. I just want to follow up on that. She got your question. She got my, yeah, I know the policy violence. I just wanted to know, do you feel that the police should still be defunded? Shoot you a note? We'll set it up.
We need to completely dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department.
Any reaction to rising crime in America?
Ma'am, I'll look for you at the next vote.
You supported the defund the police movement. It led to rising crime. Do you have any reaction? Any reaction? No reaction? It impacts your citizens.
Wow. Note to self, remind me never to get on the wrong side of Gianno Caldwell. He wanted answers. Gianno, I don't think you got them, did you?
No, I didn't get them. And earlier you said I was a little disappointed. I think that's a huge understatement,
Absolutely.
Neil. These people are elected to represent their citizens in particular districts. We got Chuck Schumer, who's the president of the Senate, who refuses to answer questions on what's on everyone's mind. We look at what happened in 2020. Murder rate increased nationally by 29%. You look at the FBI report that just came out, it was saying that what happened in 2020 and 2021 was fairly consistent. Then you realize that 40% of police departments weren't included, including New York and Los Angeles, into that FBI report. Things are much worse than we could ever imagine, Neil. And the citizens of this country are paying a price for those who said they wanted to defund the police, for those who said that police weren't needed in our communities, and we're seeing the exact opposite here today, Neil.
You know what's so wild about it? And we've heard it from Mayor Lori Lightfoot herself in Chicago, where tragically your younger brother Christian was killed. It's fine there, that this is an exaggeration. She was lecturing the CEO of McDonald's not too long ago for making a big deal about crime. Right now, Tyson's is moving out of the city because of crime, and yet it's not a problem, or it's an exaggerated problem. What did you think of that?
Well, I think first and foremost, either Lori Lightfoot is gaslighting or attempting to gaslight, or she's just so inept that she doesn't understand that this is a real issue. My concern, especially after tragic shootings and murders of so many people, including my baby brother Christian, who was murdered on June 24th, is Chicago's going to end up looking like Detroit. Businesses are going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else. They're going to go to Miami. They're going to go to other places where people actually feel safe and want to live and work. And then what happens to the city? It becomes a destitute city. Then you're really in trouble, because Detroit still hasn't recovered from things that we've seen back in the 60s. That is a problem, Neil, and we need our leaders to wake the hell up. That's what they need to do. They need to wake up and recognize that this is an issue that's impacting everyone. This isn't a Republican issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's a humanity issue, and they need to start listening. I'm out for justice, Neil, for those, my little brother, and those that are like him, innocent victims of this crime crisis in America, and I will not stop. That's why I went to D.C. I wanted to do it. It was burning sensation in my heart that I needed to get out there and talk to these elected officials who are running the country. And I was extraordinarily disappointed, but the fight does not stop. We're going to continue on, and we're going to continue to strive for answers and solutions to the violence across our country now.
You know, Gianno, I'm sure they all know you're a very recognizable face, and your brother is an international story and what you've been dealing with. So I found it doubly insulting for them to dismiss or wave you off after what you've been through and the passion you bring to this. And I'm thinking to myself, if they can treat someone who has experienced this sort of loss and is looking for answers, my gosh, how are they going to be just talking to anyone about this, if they talk about it at all?
Well, and that's the point, Neil. They're not looking to talk about it. We look at the polling data, 77% of Americans believe that crime is a major issue for them. When you talk about the Latino community, this is the #2 issue in their book. When you're thinking about this, just generally speaking, when it comes to the election and the midterms are around the corner, Republicans have a big edge on the crime crisis in America because people want them to fix it. So Democrats, of course, don't want to talk about it, but the problem is they exacerbated it, talking about we got to defund the police, and we don't really need them for anything, but yet they have security and they pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if not a month, to protect them. Why don't we, as American citizens, deserve that same protection? Why is it that people on the south side of Chicago fear leaving their homes? We got kids who don't even want to go to school because they don't know if they're going to be murdered. This is a serious issue. Chicago is a world-class city with third world problems. We need to make changes across this country, and we need them now. I will not stop, Neil, and I guarantee you that, until we see something significant happen in this country.
Well, if he's hit home on any issue, it was that the problem with not even acknowledging a problem only guarantees it's going to be a much bigger problem. Gianno, hang in there. Man, I can't believe it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.